All right, well, the heat is on. It's election season this year. I tell you what, it's a world record for election and across the world. But today, voters in the southeast of Queensland are going to head to the polls for what will be the first test of Premier Stephen Miles. A new polling is suggesting that Labor could in fact lose Ipswich West, as the Premier concedes it will be very hard for his party to retain the seat. Joining me live is Queensland Opposition Leader David Crisafulli. David, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So yes, Ipswich West, what do you think? Do you think you could win it?
Oh, Janie, it's a really uphill battle. You mentioned about the polling. No one is credibly suggesting what the Premier is saying. And I just want to put this into context. The margin in Ipswich West is approaching 15%. The margin in Inala is approaching 30%. So you're talking about Labor Party heartland here. And normally in by-elections, you normally accept a swing of about 3 or 4%. So, look, I'm realistic about the task at hand, but I want to make a couple of points. It is an opportunity for these voters in 2 seats on behalf of every Queenslander, including regional Queenslanders, to send a message to the government that enough's enough. And when I look at the challenges facing Queenslanders, I see things like the youth crime crisis that's running out of control. I see things like a health system where people are waiting inordinate amount of times for surgery and ambulance ramping is out of control. You have a generation of young Queenslanders who don't believe they'll ever own their home. We've got the lowest home ownership rate in the country, and the social housing waiting list keeps blowing out. You see, youth crime is just absolutely tearing the heart and soul out of communities. Our electricity prices in Queensland have risen by 3 times the national average in the last 12 months alone. So this is an opportunity for these voters on behalf of every Queenslander to send a message to the state Labor government that things just aren't right and the state's not heading in the right direction under their leadership. And it is a really big opportunity, not to change the government, but to send a really strong message.
And how would you fix these issues in health, housing, youth crime, to name a few?
Thanks, Janie. Well, in health, within 100 days, Queenslanders are going to see real-time data in their health system. I'm serious about that because I want to drive change. I want to put doctors and nurses back in charge, and I want transparency to be brought back in. When it comes to the youth crime crisis, we are going to rewrite the Youth Justice Act and remove detention as a last resort. We're going to fix the broken resi care system and the child safety system to make sure that those resources hit the front line. We're going to deliver gold standard early intervention. We're going to stop this merry-go-round of kids coming back out and then doing the same crime and ripping the heart and soul out of another community. And we're going to make sure that the thin blue line doesn't continue to disappear and see fewer police numbers, which they have under this government. When it comes to electricity prices, we commit to a maintenance guarantee. And that means that we are going to keep the lights on by making sure that the money generated from those coal-fired power stations go back into keeping them on. And interestingly, it's been over 1,000 days since the Callide power plant faltered, and yet the state government haven't explained why, when it's going to get back on, or anyone's been held accountable. And when it comes to housing, Janie, I'm very, very serious about making sure that young people can aspire to own a home again. We're going to deliver infrastructure partnerships with councils immediately to open up more supply. We're going to get serious about welcoming the community housing sector back to Queensland. We're the only state where that number has gone backwards in the last 9 years. And when it comes to social housing, every single cent from the Housing Investment Fund is going to build more supply. We are determined to make sure that the feeding frenzy at the bottom end of the market ends. So there's some positive solutions on just 4 of those key challenges that I've spoken about.